Hello, I'm Jason Vale. I am the Director of Horticulture here at the Trustees. And today we're here at Alan C. Haskell Public Gardens in New Bedford, Massachusetts. It is mid-December. Old Man Winter has definitely made his presence felt, and chances are he'll be hanging around for the next several months. One of the things that we do here at Haskell's to bring some color into the garden at a fairly drab time of year is the use of plants with various textures and various colors throughout the winter to brighten up shady spots, to add some drama, to add some contrast to the garden. And that was a big part of what Alan Haskell did. His nursery was built around new plants, interesting, different introductions, and we want to keep that legacy alive in the diversity of plants that we use. So one of the ways we do that here is with conifers, and certainly there is a wide diversity of conifers, and one of the great things about plants is that you have so many different textures, colors, sizes, forms, habits, that there's generally something for everyone. And for this application, it is what gives us some brightness in the wintertime. Whether there's snow on the ground or it's gray or brown, you can just create some drama and some intrigue in the garden with some of the interesting conifers that are out there on the market. The typical refrain is, that plant looks sick. Well, we would say that it's not sick, it's special. So what makes these plants special? Well, I would categorize the golden conifers into three main categories. And the first good example would be this little guy. This is a dwarf Japanese white pine, and it's called Tanima no yuki, which is translated as snow on the mountain. And in the spring, the needles will emerge a nice creamy white, which does look like snow. And then throughout the season, that color changes to more of a creamy yellow. And you do see that we have both greenish and golden needles on this plant. So I would call this category of conifers the variegated conifers, meaning different colors on the leaves, or in this case, the needles. The second type of plant that we'll look at today are those golden conifers that are generally consistent in color throughout the year, bringing that colorful drama into the garden that we're talking about here today. So like this golden Chamaecyparis will give us a flush of nice golden foliage in the late spring, early summer, and then generally hold that color throughout the summertime and into the winter. So as you can see, the color is a little more of a chartreuse, and one thing to remember with plants, especially cypress like this, are that more sun will generally give you a better expression of that golden color. One of the tips with a plant like this, especially the golden Chamaecyparis, is that you want to think about the mix of sun and shade in terms of where it's sited. And this is a great question to ask at your local garden center, or come here to Haskell's and ask one of the folks here in terms of how much sun is enough for the best expression of that color. And in some cases where you have too much sun, you may have some burn on the foliage. So here we are in a newer section of the garden that was just planted this fall, and we can look at a few of the conifers that really would provide color throughout the season. So from early spring all the way through to the winter. And first of all, we have a little oriental spruce, which is called Firefly. Firefly is a much smaller variety that for the smaller garden would be an excellent choice. And this plant, slow growing, maybe 4 to 5 inches a year, and maturing in the 6 or 8 foot tall range after 20 years. So this is a great choice for the smaller garden. So we'll wrap up today with a little bonus in which we have a plant that does a little bit of everything. And this is a variety called Morgan. And the really interesting thing about this plant, for several reasons, is for one, the texture. You have a very layered, overlapping branch structure, which gives it a really nice look in the garden. And this plant is a lot like the first plant we looked at, the golden Chamaecyparis, in that it is a nice flush of golden foliage in the springtime, which will then go to a little bit of a chartreuse through the summer, and then it becomes more like the chameleons in that just recently in early December, a lot of that new growth has transitioned to this really handsome coppery color. So for many reasons, this is a really interesting plant in the garden. It's a great companion to some of the other green varieties here along Loftus Street at Haskell. Thank you very much for joining us on this December stroll through the garden at Haskell to investigate some of the conifers that can bring some color into the winter garden. We've really just scratched the surface on the staggering diversity of colors and textures out there. So if you're looking to add some intrigue or drama to the garden, consider the diversity of golden conifers that are out there for the winter landscape. I'd also encourage you to visit another trustee's garden known as Far and Near, which is located in Shirley, Massachusetts. Far and Near was the gift of a dedicated conifer enthusiast named Arthur Banks, who left us with a very impressive collection of unusual dwarf conifers, as well as many golden plants of the chameleon type that we talked about earlier. If you're interested in adding a few of these plants to your garden, we welcome you out to the Haskell plant sale this coming spring. Several of us will be on hand to answer your questions, and we will be offering some of the unusual plants that we've been highlighting today. So just remember, it's not sick, it's special. I'm Jason Vail, Director of Horticulture here at the Trustees. Thank you very much for joining us today. And tune in next time for more horticultural tips and techniques from the Trustees Horticulture team.